Good evening, boys and girls. This is Kosala, also known as Marventus, bringing you another first-person shoutcast from the epically exciting adventures of the Bronze League of Starcraft 2. Right, terrific evening here in Hertfordshire. Right, very dark, very cold, and I'm indoors, which sounds like the right combination of events, really. So here we go, in the bottom left corner, we as the Red Zerg, myself, Marventus, in the bottom middle, we have Mr. Rishik the Blue Terran. Now, very close starting positions here. Now, the reason I wanted to cast this game is to show how a Zerg really ought to harass often and early and just keep it up throughout the game. It does cause a huge advantage as a Zerg player, because it stops Terran from doing odd shit like turtling away to say a dozen Thors and suddenly appearing at your doorstep. So here we are. Let's see how we've got going here. Not a lot of excitement right now. There are drones, there are supply depots, and that's about it. We have an overlord heading northwards now to do some scouting, and my first scouting drone is starting to run around to different positions. At this point I do not know that he's here. Now you see that my drone over here has actually hit the hidden alcove, but if you look at my sight, that actually does not show me anything. So at this point I didn't realize the guy was here, and I didn't want to cross all the way here, so my drone is busy doing its thing anyway on the other side of the map, and he's eventually going to come down here and see that in this position, which is good enough for me for the moment. So let's see what's going on. I've got a spawning pool going down at 14 supply. Generally I will have taken that much earlier had it not been for the fact that it's a Terran. I tend to feel fairly safe with a 14 supply spawning pool coming out and sticking to my droning, now approaching 1.5 lines there. So the mineral count starting to crop up a little bit. At this point I do actually normally put down a gas, but I've decided not to do it here, probably because I have forgotten. I'm imagining is nothing more advanced than that. Usually when the spawning pool is halfway down I stick down my first gas. But there you go, I appear to have forgotten that now. I've selected the drone and there goes the gas, coming in just a little bit late. Some FPS harassment there, but it seems to be recovering. Now he's coming up with his possibly second barracks. Or is it the first? It's the first. The first barracks coming down a spot late. He's got a wall of 3 supply depots built before he stuck down his first barracks. That's an interesting strategy. And in the meantime, let's take a look at his droning is not going particularly well. 1.5 rows. First barracks now about to be done. 3 supply depots. Now this is kind of begging for a baneling's bust, really, isn't it? Now over in my corner of the woods, I have placed down my first expansion at 16 supply, which for me is frankly a bit on the early side. I do like to bring a few units out before I do this, just in case somebody rushes me nice and early. The queen coming out now as well, so I should have my first lava injection any second now. 3, 2, 1, now. My goodness, that didn't work. Who'd have thought? There it is, just a spot late. And I have my Zerg now running off to man the Zelnaga towers so I can get some sight. So at this point, obviously I know that my Terran is down here. So the question is, what do I do? This little alcove right here is a wondrous place, which I in this particular game abuse the crap out of, because it takes him a little while to realize that it is an alcove that's there, and this is probably not a Terran who's been doing much gaming. So this map was relatively new to him. Nida's network beckons right here, so that will be something I'll be looking into doing as soon as conceivably possible. And in order to facilitate that, my lair tech is going up now. My queen doing some creep growth. And let's take a look at how my droning is going. I have not replenished the drones that were used up for the gas and the hatchery. This is very bad indeed. Some sloppy droning happening on my part. In the meantime, he's popping out his first marines and a factory. Curious. So the question is, what can we expect from this? Is some siege tech on the way? He's only got 4 marines. So he's taking it nice and easy. He doesn't even have an orbital command on that command center. He's taking it nice and easy indeed. Working on his droning. Second refinery now going up. Let's take a look at the income tab and see where we are. Pretty much even at this point. Very, 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 very even across the board. So staying in the game for my part for the time being. Now then, second queen coming up on my expansion that I like to get up pretty much instantly, and we've got our second gas now about to go up as well. I'm expecting at this point to do some form of Nidus based Ling and Baneling harassment potentially, if everything goes according to plan. Have I got my metabolic boost? I have not yet upgraded the metabolic boost. That should be my next 100 gas. My Nidus network has now been put down and is waiting to be completed. So we're gonna have some Nidus fun and games here. Let's see, we haven't had our first lava pop out of this hatchery yet. I should be turning those into a bunch of drones to mine away over here, which is my normal practice. And metabolic boost is now being reset as well. Now this is interesting. He's popping out some Hellions. Now I imagine if I had let him turtle away here uninterrupted, he would probably have come to harass my mineral line with some Hellions round about the 9-minute mark. He's even got a reactor on there. Whoa, he's popping out an army of Hellions. Get a load of that. A whole army of Hellions on its way out. And yeah, see, this kind of stuff is exactly why you want to make sure you're doing your harassment as regularly as possible, so that he doesn't get sitting around doing stuff like this and then suddenly showing up at your doorstep with a minor army. So here we have combat shield being researched now also for the Marines, and the Marines are actually not... Whoa, computer froze there for a second, and we're back. Hardly any Marines out there, but he's getting the combat shield for them anyway. In the meantime, here we go, some droning happening nicely in my first expansion. Creeping, as indeed creep should. And our first batch of Lings are now going into the Nidus network over here. Now we've got a couple of rows worth of Lings happening there. And let's see, are we popping out on this side? Indeed we are. The fun and game begins. Now we're in the 8-minute mark, which really is the time you should be doing your second scouting, roughly around the 9-minute mark. So this is an excellent way to do that while also harassing the mineral line a little bit. So let's see how this goes. Out pops the Nidus network in the coolest animation ever. And they should be headed straight for this location right here. Let's see what happens. What have we got here? We've got approximately a command group's worth of SCVs. Here come the Lings. There's one. There's a second one, a third one, a fourth one. Now come the Marines and Marauders and the Hellions to do whatever damage they can do. Another 14 Zerglings being produced on my end, and he is researching concussive shells. No idea why my screen is treating like this, by the way, folks. It doesn't generally usually do that, so that's kind of a pain. Alright, I believe at this point all my Zerglings are indeed dead. Yes, they are. Let's take a look at how much damage we've done to the mineral line. We have wiped out 1.5 rows of SCVs. Outstanding. If we go back to our Nidus, so far he does not appear to have understood that they came from here. Very, very interesting. So we were blessed a little bit with a bit of a nub of a Terran here. My Spire now going up as well. Let's see if I have manned this particular Nidus with some Lings. Not yet. The Lings are hanging out over here. In the meantime, my droning here really suffering a little bit. I seem to have completely forgot to replenish my drones. That's some shoddy work. But then again, I've got a massive amount of minerals and enough gas to do what I need to do. Nonetheless, this would have hurt severely if I had gone into the mid-game like this. So this is some sloppy work. Nothing to emulate there. Spire halfway done. Now the first amount of harassment has gone by. We've done some serious damage to the mineral line. Now the question is, here, he didn't detect that it came from here. So I decided not to go charging in immediately with the second bunch, but wait until he has actually replenished his SCVs before going in for the second harassment. And you see I have a Zergling standing by over here, so I know he hasn't come out. And now we have the second batch of Zerglings coming in to do a little bit of minor harassment. Let's see how we do there. Now this was actually not particularly useful, because I didn't take down a single SCV. I'm just realizing that now in the replay. Okay, so I should have actually waited even more. Now let's see if he discovers my Nidus network at this point. Well, I've got to apologize for my frame rate. I really don't know what's going on. It keeps dropping to 0 every now and then. Very unusual indeed. But it's back anyway now. I'm running on low graphic settings while I do my recordings as well, so that is quite odd. But again, so far he has not actually discovered my Nidus. And now I've got 3 meters coming out because my spire is done. Even more continued harassment. You see, it's virtually non-stop. I've stuck out a pair of spine crawlers here in the front of the base in case he swings by with some of his Hellions. But for the time being, I'm being completely unharassed, and I'm probably droning away on this side anyway, thank goodness. And here come my mutas. First 3 popping out now. I've got even more drones on the way. He's got even more Hellions coming out, a Marine and an SCV. So let's see what we got. Three mutas. Not exactly a flock just yet. I got another 4 on the way right now. And my creep continues to creep. Now you notice that during this entire time this Terran has not walked out of his base. He's building an army of what seems to be Hellions and Marines, and he has not come out of his base. And now he's got a bunch of Hellions parked in the mineral line as well. Not a single turret built, however, so this should be fun in games for my mutas. Let's see how much we got here. We've got one, almost a row's worth of mutilates coming through. And here we go. I get sighted immediately by the Hellions, but that doesn't really help them much because they can't do anything against me. And they go in here finally and spy the Nidus worm, which means that's going to be going down pretty soon. But I took down all 4 of those Hellions and that Hellion as well. So now I've got a bunch of Hellions here and the entire mineral line at my disposal, so this should be fun in games. Let's see how we do. That's 6 SCVs out of commission so far. A couple more in the red, and finally the Marines come in to scare my mutas off. In the meantime, while this attack is ongoing, I've taken my 3rd base. As indeed one should, because you tend to be unobstructed in the midst of attacks. 7 more mutas on the way. He's coming up with a couple more Hellions, which is a mystery. Yet he's decided to do it anyway. Right, yeah. And I should have my Nidus be taken down any second now. Which he surely must have spotted by now. Or not. Now we've got even more mutalists than we had before. What do we got here? We've got 1.5 rows of mutas. This is actually enough to do some very serious harassment indeed. So let's see what I choose to do. I actually can't remember exactly how this game ends. I've got a Baneling's nest on the way to bust down this front door and to run in with a huge batch of zerglings, I would imagine. But now that I've done my initial foray of harassment, there's no reason to go in there anymore. Let's take a look at the income situation. He's well behind indeed. Let's take a look at units. He's got 8 Marines to 15 Hellions and 4 Marauders to my 10 Zerglings, 13 Mutas and 2 Queens. So actually kind of even at that point. Kind of even. Haven't been producing a whole lot of units because I've been foraying in and out. I've got Burrow being researched along with centrifugal hooks so I can have my nicely topsy-turvy turning banelings. And my Nidus network, for inexplicable reasons, still surviving. That engineering bay is taking the world's longest time in the world to build. In fact, there's 2 engineering bays building. Still only 1 factory and one barracks. 1 factory and 1 barracks. And we have an unmanned bunker at the front, which is again a bit of a mystery. And my Nidus seems more or less camped there forever. What is this going up? We have our first missile turret about to go up here. My Muta's going for a little bit of walk here. Where are they going? It's possible they're just doing a little browse around the other locations in the map to make sure that he hasn't secretly expanded. Burrow research about to be done. Not really sure what I was planning on doing with that. Centrifugal hooks also about to be concluded. 3rd base. Queen has popped out. It's time to be doing some larvaing, although I think you'd be bit late on that. And pneumatized carapace coming out as well for absolutely no particular reason. Yes, indeed, my mutalists are doing a little run around of all the bases to make sure that nothing has crept in there unannounced. Look at this, my banelings have arrived. Oh my goodness, this should be a blast and a half. Banelings and speedlings about to go charging into the mineral line. This should get entertaining. Here are the SCVs, banelings rolling in now, along with one zergling to begin with. There it is, a whole bunch of marines and SCVs toasted. And now we have a marine marauder push into the middle of the mineral line, and I should be bringing the rest in now. Yep, here we go. I must have had the banelings on auto-detonate and I wound up killing them all on buildings instead of SCVs. Oh my goodness, that's a serious amount of baneling wastage. But wait, I was mistaken. We seem to have caught some SCVs anyway, only have one row and a bit left here. And now finally the Hellions are walking in to take out my Nidus network. Those were some poorly used banelings, to be honest. I could have run them around over here and manually detonated, which is exactly what I should have done. That was some sloppy baneling work there. Don't repeat that, boys and girls. Do not do this at home. Right, oh, finally the Nidus network gets taken down. Let's watch it die. It dies in a flaming fury. That's an awesome animation right there. So finally he's gotten rid of his backdoor problematics in his base, and at this point he looks like he's in some serious trouble. There's barely any mineral points left. He's got one refinery got taken down by banelings, so he needs to rebuild that, and he's got absolutely no army worth speaking of here. In the meantime, I've got a massive flock of mutalisks running around the place. So I've got an infestation pit coming out, which presumably means I might choose to tech up to a hive and get broodlords, but way before then I think I actually win the game. So let's see what we got. We have a massive amount of zerglings running to the front door now. Which presumably means I will baneling up a little bit here, bust down this, and then run in and finish this off. Which seems to be the likely end result of this particular game. So here we go. Zerglings hanging out by the base door. Some of these going to turn into banelings. Yes, indeed they are. There we go. We're about to have the 6 banelings to bust down the supply depots. Which should be more than enough. And then zerglings to finish it all off. And these mutas are still running around the entire map. Total map control. It's great to get mutas in the early game, especially if your opponent does not have air, because it's basically nothing he can do. You just get total map control. Here we go. The bust of the front door is imminent. Or is it? Banelings hanging out there, speedlings hanging out there. And the one speedling I put there at the beginning of the game is still there. He hasn't even come down to kill it. There we go. This is definitely a Terran that turtled in his base ad infinitum. I wonder exactly what he's planning on doing there. Whoa, I've got a whole flock of banelings morphing here because I've got 46 zerglings coming to meet them in just a second. Well, this is just going to be a nightmare, isn't it? That's almost a command group's worth of banelings, boys and girls. Almost a command group's worth of banelings. And I've got a massive amount of zerglings coming to meet them. I'm also upgrading my flyer carapace and attacks. Or is that ground carapace? That is actually ground carapace. Here we go! The massive baneling ball roll is rolling in. No way to stop this. There goes the door, there goes the marines, and in come the zerglings. He's got hardly any armies to deal with this. No earthly way he can possibly win. So there you go. I could have done this a long time ago, actually, I just realized. I seem to be have a knack of not winning early enough when I actually have the units to do so. But there you go, the continued harassment, very, very important. Mess with the mineral line, keep them busy, and then just come in and finish it off. Now we are at the 23-minute marker. Now comes the mutalist to finish off the final blow. He's got absolutely nothing that can take these on except for these funerals in the corner. So he really has no choice at this point to GG and to bow out. A few marines trying to do what they can do. One Viking in the air. A little bit too late. Terrans running everywhere. I seem to still be allowing that Viking to take potshots at me for some odd reason. I'm running around the place nuking SCVs now. And here we go. And there he is, boys and girls. He has left the game. Because there's absolutely nothing that he can do at this point. Right, oh, I seem to have hit restart there by accident. So there you go, everyone. Thank you for watching. Right, importance of continuous harassment should be obvious to all. Right, do like, dislike, comment, and whatever else below, and link to your own games if you can. I'd love to see some of yours as well. Thank you for watching, and have an absolutely lovely Christmas. Bye-bye.